Let's start. As usual, we look for checks. And the only check available in this position is h2. For now, it's not, the h pawn is not supported by anything. Second idea, we need to remove escape square from the king. So the two escape squares are h2 and h1. By moving our bishop to f3, we remove the first escape square on h1, and after h2, that's checkmate. Again, we're looking for checks and removing the escape squares. We can see here that all the squares are taken from the king by the bishop and the rook. The only escape square that is available is h3. So first of all, we are going to remove that escape square by moving our queen to c8. So now we need to deliver check. And rook f2, that's a good check, but it's not checkmate. Queen is going to take. Knight g6 to f4 looks better, but again, f3 and f1 are still available for the king. So the right move is knight h4, and that's checkmate. Again, we look for checks first, and queen f7, e6, d5, and f8. That's 4 checks we have. d5 is protected by the bishop and queen, e6 by the queen. The only available square for our queen is f7, but we need support. So we go rook g1 to f1 to support the king, the queen, and then queen f5 to f7. That's checkmate. The white king that has just one escape square on g1. So if you could move our queen to h2, that would be checkmate. And the h2 square is already protected by the knight and the bishop, but the black bishop is on the way. So it's stopping the queen from going from b8 to h2. So we just remove the bishop first and deliver checkmate. Queen h2. Let's move on. The king is completely paralyzed and blocked by its pieces. So just one check is going to be fatal for the white kings. So let's figure out. Our bishop is attacking f2, but at the moment bishop f2 is not going to be checkmate because the bishop is not protected. So first of all, we need to bring the queen to support our bishop, and second, we deliver checkmate. Looking for checks and for escape squares, we can see that the only escape square is c7. The rest are taken by the pawn here, and by the rook on the d file. Also, our c5 pawn is hanging. So first of all, we are going to protect our c5 pawn. Then we are going to take away the c7 square by our bishop, and now we're ready to checkmate with rook. Rook d6 checkmate. The white king doesn't have escape squares at the moment. All squares are taken or blocked by its own pieces. So if we give a check, that might be fatal for the white king. However, we need to find the right check. So for instance, our queen f4 doesn't work because it's protected by the pawn. Queen f6. We can give check here, but the white can block this check with the bishop or the knight. Knight h2. That looks good, but by moving knight to h2, we remove their attack on f2 square. So first of all, we're going to take control over f2 square with our queen, and now we are ready to give checkmate here. looking for checks and escape squares. We can see that there are two escape squares for the king in g7 and f8. If we attack the king from h8 with our queen, the queen is going to take away both escape square, give check, and that's going to be checkmate. But our queen is not protected by anything. That's why first we're going to move our rook to protect the queen, and then we deliver checkmate on h8. That's interesting position. So white has two escape squares, and the rest are taken by its own pieces. We need to give a check to, so that's checkmate. You can see that our rooks are not involved yet. Our bishop is far away. Ideally, we would like to bring our queen to a1, and then the queen is going to take away two escape squares and give check, and that's going to be checkmate. So we move our queen to h8, the first one, and now we are totally ready to deliver checkmate on a1. Looking for checks and escape squares. So the king has two escape squares, and we have two checks available now, so the knight can go to g4 or f3. g4 is covered by the pawn on h3. Knight f3 looks more promising, but by going knight f3 we give check and attack g1 square. The g2 square is still available for the king, so that's why we first of all go bishop d7 to h3, take away the g2 square, and then we are ready to deliver checkmate knight f3. Looking for checks and escape squares. The king has two escape squares on a8 and c8. Checks. We have very promising check queen e3 to a7, but c8 square is still available for the king. That's why first we move our bishop g2 to h3, take control over c8 square, and now queen a3 to a7, that's checkmate. That's quite a complicated position. Actually, black king doesn't have any escape squares. e7 here, 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 here. All the squares are taken by its pieces and pawns. So that's knight, that's rook, that's pawn, that's bishop, that's two pawns and the rook. So basically we need just to give a check, and that's going to be checkmate. Let's find the right way to do it. Queen h4 to f6, that looks very good. So first of all, we're going to vacate the h4 square for the queen, and second we're going to deliver checkmate on h4. Again, black has just one escape square on h8, and we look for checks. Queen g7 won't work because it's protected by the bishop, by the knight, and by the king. Queen takes g6 won't work as well because first of all it's protected by the king, and second we don't control the escape square on h8. Queen g8, that looks very good, but our queen is not protected. First of all we need to bring support, and now we deliver checkmate. Checks and escape squares. The black king doesn't have any escape squares. g7, f7 controlled by white pieces, and the rest are taken by its own pieces. So we'd like to give check on g7, and that would be checkmate, but the bishop on f8 is protecting g7. First of all, we make sure that bishop f8 is pinned, and now we are ready to deliver checkmate on g7.